You know, I actually remember that first transaction. I'd made a garden bench for my mother, and the next door neighbour had just popped out and seen it and said, "That looks nice, can you make me one of those?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I can, 2 shillings and 6pence. And she said, "Oh, go on then." And I actually manufactured this thing, but to this day what she doesn't know is that because I'd run out of timber, I actually got the material from her own fence and the back garden. Between our 2 garages, because nobody knew. So that was... But that was it then, you see. I was into manufacturing. That really set something on fire in me, and as soon as I left school, that's all I did in my spare time was try to get to start manufacturing something. And by the age of 19, I'd tried 38 businesses, most of them manufacturing, and I realised quickly that actually I wasn't any good at marketing. I could make the stuff, but I wasn't very good at selling it. But by the time came round, it was middle of 1979. I'd got a company that was manufacturing wooden components for various companies, and I found myself sitting at my desk in my office on my own on a Friday night. The day shift had just gone home, the night shift hadn't come in yet, and I'd got my head in my hands in the deepest depression that I'd ever been in my life. Which was quite a contrast, because 2 weeks earlier I'd received an order from a company that wanted 40,000 clock cases. And I remember dancing around the office with people there. I was jumping with joy. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting at my desk with my head in my hands in a deep depression. Because what had happened, when I'd received the order, the first thing I did was I purchased £5,000 worth of material. That was an awful lot of material 30 years ago. And having watched the foreman trying to make these clock cases for 2 weeks, I mean from a distance, because I spent a lot of time away from the factory, but I knew all about it, and I got this sickly feeling that something wasn't going well. I went into the office on this day, and I said to Paul, the foreman, who was really the works manager, but foreman was cheaper. So I had this discussion with the guy, and I said, what's the situation? How many have we made? And bear in mind, we've got to make 500 a day. Okay, we make 500 clocks a day. He said, I've just counted them. It's 387. I said, that's not even 40 a day. I knew instantly I was in trouble. If we carried on for another 2 weeks at that rate, the total sales at the end of the month would have been £1,200. And I'd bought £5,000 worth of material. I hadn't got £5,000 to spare. It was doom. At that exact moment, the foreman decides to tell me that he's got a relation that's died in India. He's got to go away to visit the funeral, and oh, by the way, while I'm there, I'm taking 3 weeks holiday. There was nobody to run the factory. I've got a £60,000 contract to fulfil, and no way at the moment of doing it. I went home on the Friday night. I sat and I thought about it. I don't think I slept for more than an hour at a time. I don't think I said 12 words to my family over the whole weekend, wife and children. Nice weekend for them. And I came into work on Monday and did the only thing I knew how. I got the 7 guys that were making these clocks together. I took them into what we laughingly call the boardroom. I sat them down, I had the secretary make them tea and coffee, and I got some biscuits, chocolate biscuits from Marks and Spencer's. And I put one of these clocks on the table, and the lads are sitting round in front of me, and this is what I said. Chaps, I'm in the crap. I am really in it. We are in a serious situation. My home my factory, my equipment, my job, my income, all of your jobs, all of your salaries, within 4 weeks are going down the pan. I need you to help me solve this problem. I said, I'll give you 30 minutes. I'm going to go and stay in my office for a while. 30 minutes, I'll come back. And I hope you've found some answers for me. I paced up and down my office for 30 minutes and I went back into the room. Mick, the tall Irish guy in the centre of the room, looked at me as I walked in. I said, so what's the answer? What are we going to do, chaps? And Mick stood up. He just looked me in the face and he said, we'll sort it for you. I said, pardon? He said, we'll sort it for you. I said, Mick, perhaps I haven't made this clear. Everything that I have built up over the last 6 years is going down the pan. I think I need a bit more than we'll sort it for you. No, he said, it's all right. He said, we know you've got a meeting to go to. You go to your meeting. He said, and when you come back, we'll have some answers for you. What was I supposed to do now? I've really stuck my neck out. I've asked them for their help. What do I do now? Do I say, forget it lads, go back to work? Because that wasn't working. 40 clocks a day wasn't going to get anywhere near it. What was I supposed to do? I had no option. I said, okay. And I went off to my meeting and they carried on doing what they were doing. And I got back to the factory after the meeting about 5 o'clock, just before the change of shift. And I was praying that I was going to see some product in that works. I opened the gate in the roller shutter. I walked in. I looked around. Nothing. Not a clock to be seen anywhere. Mick came over. Where's the clocks, Mick? Where's the clocks? How many have you made? He said, we haven't made any today. What, not even 40? He said, no, he said, we're setting it up for tomorrow. I said, where's Chand? Where's Ian? Where's Dennis? Listen to these words. I'm about to have a nervous breakdown and the guy tells me that the 3 guys I've just asked him about have gone home for a sleep. Sensing that I was about to burst a blood vessel, Mick quickly added, but they're coming back tonight. I said, what do you mean they're coming back tonight? He said, well, they're coming on the night shift. I said, well, who's going to organise them? He said, well, we'll do it. I said, well, who's going to set the machines up? Who's going to set the saws? How are they going to know how many to do? Who's going to set the sanding machines? What's... The fascinating thing was, I saw in that guy's face a feeling. I saw he was hurt. He was hurt. And I knew instantly what he was thinking. He was thinking, well, do you think we can't count? Do you think we don't know how to set a saw so that we can cut some at the right length? Don't you think we know we can find somewhere to put them? Don't you think we've used a sander at some point in our 3 years working for you? But he never said a word. And I just left. I'd got another meeting in the morning. And to be fair, I could have been back in the factory at 1 o'clock, easily. I could have been back at 1 o'clock. I couldn't get my car to point in the direction of the factory. It was that bad. It was like a cold dread that I'd got inside me as I went in the direction of the factory. So I just kept going off another way, and eventually I knew again I had to be there at 5 o'clock. I walked down the alleyway, past the van to the door, opened the roller shutter, stepped over that little metal bit of aluminium at the bottom, and I remember as I looked up thinking, if there's no clocks this time, I'm finished. I looked up, and guess what? Not a clock in sight. Absolutely nothing. difficult to explain how you feel. I was at the point of crying. I can feel it now. Sickly feeling to the point where I was about to throw up. Nick had obviously spotted me and came over much quicker than he normally does. He said, "What's the matter? Where's the clocks, Mick?" He said, "Oh, we did all right today." I said, "What?" He said, "We did 400. I said, "Well, where are they?" He said, "Oh, they were getting in the way." He said, "So we boxed them up and we put them on the van." I just walked past the van. I knew the spark of inspiration, just a light at the end of the tunnel, that was quickly extinguished by the fact that I knew if they'd gone from 40 clocks a day to 400, I'd got 400 scrap clocks on my van. I knew it. There was 400 scrap clocks. And as I'm walking out, I'm thinking, can I reuse any of the components? But that was all glued together. I mean, I picked up the box that were the furthest at the forward of the van. I picked them up. I walked through the gate, and I'm in that same situation again. What's in this box now is either doom or saviour. I stripped the tape from the sides and across the bottom. I opened the box up and I was almost praying. I took them out one at a time, inspected every one in great detail. And apart from one gluey thumbprint on the back of one of the clocks, and allowing for the fact that these were made at £1.50 each, I have to say they were some of the best clocks that I'd ever seen us make. They went on to produce a maximum of 725 a day. That's a 1,800% increase in productivity, 18 times faster. They were making a clock come off their little production line every 40 seconds in a box on the van. And I've thought about it many times. What was the crux? What was the actual reason? What was the nitty-gritty of what was this cause of this incredible increase in productivity? And it comes down to three things. The first is I got myself out of their way. I got myself out of their way. They didn't need me to tell them how to cut a piece of wood, how to machine something. The second thing was very important, was an incentive. I have to state, you have to be careful with incentives, but the incentive was there financially for them to do well. But the most important thing, and I have to say every time I do this speech, I lose a third of the audience right here, because for some of you it's not what you want to hear. The key, number one aspect of saviour of my business was humility. My own humility. The ability to ask for help. Is that something that we see common with business managers? Not likely, is it really? What we tend to get with the British is, I'm the managing director. It's my job to tell you what to do. It's my job to tell you what to do. There's two things wrong with that. The first is simply this. If you've got to tell people what to do, you better be there to tell them. So whatever happened to this idea of working hard for 5 years and retiring, well, that's gone out the window straight away. The second thing, and by far the most important thing, is what happens when a manager takes responsibility, when makes decisions, is that you are taking responsibility. And British workers, particularly if they don't like you, will hand you as much responsibility as they can. You take that if you like. Yeah, mate, if it all goes wrong, it's your fault. It's your fault. Don't look at me. I'm just doing what I'm told. You've heard it all, haven't you? You've heard it before. If the worker makes the decision, who's responsible? Who's responsible? It's just a leap of faith And you've got to take it carefully. But if you can do it, it works. There is, ladies and gentlemen, a virtual army of British working men and women in this country, in our offices, in our factories, that are just waiting for an opportunity to show you what they can do. Ladies, gentlemen, it's up to you. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.